Hello, friends. Are you ready to dive deep into the world of Insert Movie Name? Released on Insert Release Date, this film has sparked endless conversations, and today, we're bringing you every thrilling detail. If you love what you see, give this video a like, it really helps us grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more exciting movie explorations and hidden gems. Let's jump in and unravel the magic together. On the 13th of July, 2018, the cinematic world was introduced to Siberia, a film that seemed to slip under the radar of many despite its star-studded lead. Directed by Matthew Ross, a filmmaker known for his more intimate, atmospheric dramas, Siberia arrived in theaters with a chill that wasn't just literal but psychological. With Keanu Reeves at the forefront, known to most for his action-packed roles in The Matrix and John Wick, it wasn't immediately clear what kind of movie Siberia would unfold into. The trailers, cryptic and mysterious, offered glimpses of the Siberian landscape, distant towns, and, of course, Reeves walking a dangerous line between business and personal peril. But behind the icy terrain and the grim tones, Siberia was not simply a cold, remote setting, it became a reflection of the turmoil within its protagonist. The movie begins by pulling you into the world of Lucas Hill, Reeves, a diamond dealer whose life seems to be as precious and delicate as the stones he trades. The plot unravels slowly, almost like the layers of ice cracking across a frozen lake, revealing glimpses of a troubled past and an uncertain future. The setting itself plays a critical role. Siberia, vast and barren, a land where the cold is as harsh as the criminal forces that operate in its shadows. He'll find himself caught between the allure of wealth and the gritty reality of the business he's involved in, a man who's long since stopped asking questions about the world he's knee-deep in. But his life takes a sudden and violent turn when a deal goes wrong, setting off a series of events that will shake his world to its core. From the start, Siberia exudes a quiet tension. The movie doesn't rush into thrills but takes its time, building an atmosphere that's equal parts isolation and dread. The landscape is overwhelming in its emptiness, a metaphor for the hollowness Lucas begins to feel in his own life. His work as a diamond dealer brings him to the isolated corners of the world, and the Russian town where much of the film is set offers him no refuge from the darker dealings of the business he has chosen. The connection between the diamonds he sells and the dangerous people he's forced to work with creates an undeniable pull. The diamonds are valuable, sure, but they're also cursed, trapped within a world of greed, corruption, and violence. In the center of this cold storm is Hill's relationship with Katia, played by the captivating and enigmatic actress Anna Ularu. Their romance is not your typical love story. It's raw, unfiltered, and filled with complexities. Katia, a woman with her own secrets, becomes both a source of solace and tension for Hill. They are drawn together by a shared understanding of the darkness surrounding them, but their connection only amplifies the stakes of Hill's already perilous situation. The movie explores their relationship with a delicacy that contrasts the brutal world they inhabit, offering moments of warmth amid the desolation. But Siberia isn't just about Hill and Katia's love, it's about the choices Hill makes, the consequences of those decisions, and the dangerous web of betrayal and crime he becomes entangled in. Hill's dealings with Russian gangsters, shady characters, and corrupt officials force him into an inescapable spiral. The stakes only increase as Hill tries to find his way out of a mess that keeps getting more complicated with each passing hour. As his world collapses around him, he's forced to confront his own demons and grapple with the truth of what he has become, a man who has traded his soul for wealth and now finds himself trapped in a world of violence that doesn't care who you are or what you've lost. What makes Siberia worth exploring is not just its stunning visuals of a snow-covered wasteland but also the way it plays with tension and tone. This is not a movie for those who crave explosive action sequences or fast-paced thrills. Instead, it leans into its slow-burn atmosphere, allowing viewers to fully immerse themselves in Hill's unraveling world. The film is a psychological exploration of a man caught between two worlds, the one he wants to escape and the one that has a hold on him, whether he likes it or not. It's a story that's more about internal conflict than external action, yet the stakes feel no less dire. Keanu Reeves, often lauded for his stoic, enigmatic performances, is perfectly cast in this role. His portrayal of Lucas Hill is subdued but compelling, a man who knows that every choice he makes could be his last, but still feels powerless to change the course of his life. Reeves brings a depth to Hill that's both vulnerable and guarded, a character who is simultaneously seeking redemption while sinking deeper into a moral quagmire. It's a performance that resonates long after the credits roll, leaving viewers to question how much of Hill's fate was shaped by his own actions and how much by forces beyond his control. The film also shines in its ability to convey the oppressive weight of its setting. The remote Siberian town, almost barren in its bleakness, enhances the sense of isolation Hill feels throughout the film. The frigid landscapes, punctuated only by the occasional burst of color from a fleeting moment of life, mirror the emotional coldness Hill experiences as he drifts through a world that seems indifferent to his existence. Every scene feels like it happening in a place where time has forgotten to move, and this stagnation is reflected in Hill's own life. The film's cinematography, which captures the haunting beauty of Siberia's wilderness, becomes another character in the story, emphasizing the themes of isolation, entrapment, and despair. In the end, Siberia is a movie that sticks with you not because of its bombastic action or its shocking twists, but because of its quiet power. It lingers, like the cold that seeps into your bones long after you've left the theater. Its slow unraveling of Hill's life mirrors the ice cracking beneath his feet, each moment of tension building toward an inevitable conclusion that feels both tragic and inevitable. It's a film that asks the audience to sit with its discomfort, to feel the chill of the landscape and the isolation of its characters, and to question the moral compromises they make in pursuit of a life they thought they wanted. Why should viewers dive into Siberia? Because it's more than just a film about crime, diamonds, and betrayal. It's a stark meditation on the choices we make, the things we lose, and the people we become in the process. It's a film that challenges the viewer to look beneath the surface, to peel back the layers of cold and see what lies beneath. In a world where so many films demand attention with flashy visuals or fast-paced plots, Siberia takes its time, asking you to pay attention to the quieter moments, to the subtleties of character and setting. And in doing so, it creates a hauntingly memorable experience that is well worth the watch for anyone willing to venture into its bleak, unforgiving world. So, if you're drawn to films that don't just tell a story but immerse you in it, if you enjoy complex characters whose inner turmoil feels as palpable as the landscape surrounding them, then Siberia deserves a spot on your watchlist. It's a journey into the heart of darkness, one that will leave you questioning the value of everything you thought you knew about the characters and the world they inhabit. It's a quiet masterpiece, and in a way, that's what makes it unforgettable. Lucas Hill, the protagonist of Siberia, arrives in the remote Russian town with a weight on his shoulders that seems impossible to shake off. The cold of Siberia bites at him, not just from the outside, but from within as well. His life, bound by the fragile threads of his work as a diamond dealer, is precariously balanced between the demands of a dangerous profession and the distractions of his own personal entanglements. The quiet arrival in this frozen landscape is a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside his world. He is here for a deal, one that could change his life, but the tension in the air signals that not everything is as it seems. The first significant interaction in the town reveals the fractured and complicated nature of Lucas's life. He meets with a group of Russian mobsters, figures whose loyalty is as fleeting as the icy winds that swirl around them. They've come to expect Lucas to deliver on a promise he's made, but the deal he's about to make is no simple transaction. The stakes are high, the diamonds are more than just a commodity, and the people involved are ruthless. Even at the outset, the movie's tone is set by the undercurrent of danger in these conversations, the back and forth between Lucas and the men who control the trade. The dialogue is clipped, the trust is minimal, and there's a sense that every word spoken could mean life or death for Lucas. But as the deal inches closer to fruition, Lucas is distracted by a more personal matter, a woman named Katia, played by Anna Ularu. She's a beautiful and mysterious woman, whose allure both captures and complicates Lucas's already delicate situation. Their first meeting is charged with an instant, palpable tension. Katia is not merely a love interest but a woman with her own set of complexities, someone who, like Lucas, seems trapped in a world where every choice has far-reaching consequences. She's the kind of woman who lives in the shadows, someone with an unclear agenda, whose motives seem as elusive as the diamonds Lucas deals with. Their chemistry is undeniable, but so is the danger surrounding them. Katia has her own connections to the underworld, and as much as Lucas tries to keep his personal and professional lives separate, the lines between them begin to blur. She introduces him to the reality of the town, to the people who control it from the shadows. Through her, Lucas sees a side of the world he hasn't fully acknowledged, a world where alliances are fragile and betrayal is a constant threat. The intimacy between them feels like both a respite from the harshness of his dealings and a trap that will slowly close in on him. At the heart of the movie's first half is Lucas's increasing discomfort in this environment. The icy exterior of the town reflects his internal disquiet, a man who is trying to stay ahead of forces he doesn't fully understand. The conflict between Lucas and the Russian gangsters intensifies as a deal goes awry. The tension begins to build as the deal that Lucas has come to complete unravels before his eyes. The promises he made seem to dissolve, and he is faced with the consequences of working with people who are as volatile as they are dangerous. His desire to escape this world, to find a way out of the deal, grows stronger, but every step he takes to free himself only seems to pull him deeper into the web. The film's early moments are laden with foreboding, moments that subtly foreshadow the twists to come. As Lucas tries to negotiate his way out of trouble, His every move is shadowed by the looming threat of betrayal. He becomes increasingly aware that the people he's dealing with are not to be trusted, and that his carefully constructed life is beginning to fall apart. This realization is gradual, but it's felt in every interaction, whether it's the cold stares from the gangsters, the cryptic warnings from Katia, or the strange occurrences that seem to happen just out of sight. The movie's cinematography plays a key role here, with long, lingering shots of empty streets and desolate landscapes, reflecting Lucas's growing sense of isolation. Even when he's surrounded by people, he feels utterly alone, a man whose actions are dictated by forces beyond his control. One of the standout moments in the first half of Siberia comes when Lucas returns to his hotel after a tense encounter with the gangsters. He is exhausted, both physically and mentally, but there's no time to rest. The camera lingers on him as he enters his room, where the weight of his decisions is palpable in the quiet of the space. The room feels like a coffin, the walls closing in on him as he tries to make sense of everything that's happening. His mind races through the choices that led him here, the deals he made, the people he trusted, and yet, nothing feels like it's in his control anymore. This scene is crucial because it encapsulates the core of Lucas's internal struggle, a man who has long since lost the ability to separate the man he is from the business he's in. Katia's role in the story becomes even more significant as the tension heightens. She is both a mirror to Lucas's own struggle and a catalyst for his eventual downfall. As the two become more entangled, Lucas begins to question not only the nature of their relationship but also her true intentions. The more he learns about her past, the more uncertain he becomes about her loyalty. Is she simply another player in the game, or does she have deeper motives? The movie never fully answers this question in the first half, leaving the audience to wonder whether Katia is a genuine ally or yet another trap for Lucas to fall into. The ambiguity of her character is one of the driving forces behind the suspense that builds throughout these early scenes. She represents both the allure and danger of the world Lucas is trying to navigate, a constant reminder that in this business, no one can be trusted. The first half of Siberia is a slow build, one that draws you into its world without giving away too much too soon. It's a movie that thrives on tension and atmosphere, where every moment feels pregnant with possibility. The setting of the frozen wilderness amplifies the sense of entrapment, making it clear that Lucas is in a place where escape seems almost impossible. As his dealings with the Russian mobsters take on darker tones, the consequences of his actions become more pronounced. There's a growing sense that the walls are closing in around him, that every decision he makes only brings him closer to a point of no return. By the time the halfway point of the movie arrives, the stakes have been raised, and the tension is nearly unbearable. The initial promise of the diamond deal has been replaced with a sense of foreboding. Lucas's attempts to salvage the situation are growing more desperate, and the relationships he's formed, particularly with Katia, are becoming more complicated. It's a delicate balance between trust and betrayal, love and manipulation, and with each passing moment, the certainty of his fate seems to slip further out of reach. Through all of this, there's one thing that remains constant: Lucas's belief that he can control the situation. He's convinced that with enough time, enough manipulation, and enough effort, he can find a way out of this mess. But the film is subtle in its foreshadowing, hinting that no matter how hard Lucas tries to escape, the forces surrounding him will not let him go. The opening acts of the film are less about explosive action and more about setting the stage for a larger, more inevitable collapse. And in the cold, barren expanse of Siberia, Lucas's journey becomes less about surviving and more about the realization that, in a world where trust is fleeting and loyalty is fragile, survival itself may be an illusion. The slow, deliberate pacing of the first half of Siberia allows the suspense to accumulate in a way that is both gripping and unnerving. It's a film that doesn't demand your attention with loud explosions or dramatic turns. Rather, it seduces you into its world of danger and deceit, making you feel the weight of every choice Lucas makes. The connections he forges, the deals he strikes, and the relationships he forms all come with a cost, and in the coldest places, those costs are often the most unforgiving. The second half of Siberia begins with the chill of inevitability hanging heavy in the air, the very weight of impending doom settling like frost across the snow-covered landscape. Lucas Hill, having been gradually consumed by the dangerous web of deceit and betrayal he's entangled in, is now fully aware that escape is no longer an option. His world has been upended, his professional dealings have gone south, his personal relationships have been strained to their breaking point, and the quiet certainty that defined his earlier existence has long since been shattered. The moment of realization hits hard. The diamonds he thought were his ticket to freedom, his leverage against the Russian mob, have now become his undoing. The Russian gangsters, whom he had once tried to manipulate and control, are now circling like vultures, and they aren't interested in bargains anymore. It's clear now that Lucas is a pawn in a much larger game, one where the stakes are not only about wealth but survival. The complexity of the situation deepens as Lucas struggles to find a way out, realizing with increasing dread that the walls are closing in faster than he can react. The tension that has been building since the first half of the film begins to crack open, revealing a sequence of escalating events that push Lucas into a corner from which there is no real escape. His relationship with Katia, the mysterious woman who had been both a source of comfort and confusion, is put to the test in these final moments. The closer Lucas gets to the truth about the deals he's involved in, the more elusive Katia becomes. Her motivations are revealed in fragments, pieces of a puzzle that never quite fit together, and as Lucas digs deeper into her past, he discovers that she is more connected to the danger surrounding him than he ever imagined. The subtle hints about her involvement in the criminal world, the secret she has kept hidden, all start to make sense in the light of the unfolding chaos. She isn't just another player in the game, she's an integral part of the trap that's been set for Lucas from the beginning. The film's emotional landscape shifts dramatically as the stakes become personal. There's no room for negotiation now. Lucas's desperation grows with every passing moment, every failed attempt to untangle himself from the criminal forces he's been sucked into. He's no longer a man in control of his destiny. He's a man fighting against the consequences of his own choices, realizing too late the depths of his entrapment. The icy, barren surroundings mirror his internal collapse. Everything around him is cold and inhospitable, just like the world he's created for himself. He is now fully aware that the coldness he feels is not just from the Siberian air. It's the cold embrace of his own past mistakes, finally catching up with him. As Lucas's situation spirals, the narrative begins to take on a more urgent and frantic tone. The Russian gangsters, sensing the vulnerability in Lucas, close in on him, making it clear that they are not to be trifled with. Their presence becomes overwhelming, not just as external threats but as an embodiment of Lucas's moral compromises. These men are ruthless, but they are also a reflection of the world Lucas has chosen to inhabit, a world where trust is a fleeting illusion and betrayal is a currency. Each interaction with them heightens the sense of doom that has been looming over the entire film. It's no longer just about diamonds, it's about life and death, about survival in a world where loyalty means nothing and trust is a luxury that Lucas can no longer afford. Katia, in the midst of this chaos, becomes an even more complex figure. Her allegiance seems to shift with the tide, and Lucas can no longer tell if she's an ally or another layer of deception he's been blind to. The tension between them reaches its peak when she makes a revelation, something so unexpected that it shatters the fragile sense of control Lucas had left. The truth about Katia's connections to the criminal world and her own motivations are laid bare in a scene that feels both heartbreaking and inevitable. The revelation hits Lucas hard, not just because of the danger it puts him in but because it exposes his own vulnerability, his own role in the collapse of everything he had built. He has been playing a dangerous game, and Katia, it turns out, was not just a part of that game. She was its mastermind, leading him down a path he couldn't escape from. The emotional weight of this twist reverberates throughout the remainder of the film. Lucas, now betrayed by the one person he thought he could trust, finds himself more isolated than ever. His moral compass, already shattered, is now lost entirely. As the Russian gangsters close in on him, he is forced to make decisions that he never imagined he would. The choices Lucas makes in these moments are born not of logic or strategy, but of sheer survival instinct. He is no longer a man in control of his destiny. He is a man on the run, fighting not just for his life, but for whatever shred of humanity he has left. The final act of the film is marked by a series of confrontations that bring the story to a tense, nerve-wracking climax. Lucas, cornered by the criminal forces that have been tracking him throughout the movie, makes a desperate attempt to escape. The confrontation between Lucas and the Russian mobsters is brutal, as the film's pace accelerates into a frenzied rush toward the inevitable end. The stakes are now at their highest. Lucas is no longer negotiating for diamonds or power, he is fighting for his life, struggling against the very forces he helped create. The cold, unforgiving landscape of Siberia becomes the perfect backdrop for this final showdown, a place where survival is no guarantee, and where the price of failure is death. It is in this final, desperate push that Lucas's true character is revealed. Throughout the film, he has been a man caught between two worlds, the business of diamonds and the personal cost of his decisions. In these final moments, he must confront the truth of his choices and what they've cost him. He is forced to reckon with the fact that there is no escaping the consequences of his actions, no way to undo the deals he has made, and no chance of returning to the life he once knew. His journey, which began as a quest for wealth and power, ends as a struggle for redemption, though redemption may no longer be possible. In the final scenes of the film, Lucas's fate is sealed in a way that is as tragic as it is inevitable. The twists, which had been slowly building throughout the narrative, converge in a heartbreaking resolution. The people Lucas trusted, the decisions he made, and the path he chose all culminate in a devastating conclusion that leaves the audience with a sense of both finality and sorrow. The diamonds, which had symbolized both his hope and his undoing, are no longer of any importance. What remains is the wreckage of a man who, despite his best efforts, could not escape the consequences of his own moral compromises. As the film draws to a close, the camera lingers on Lucas's final moments in Siberia, the coldness of the environment serving as a poignant metaphor for the isolation he now faces. The haunting landscape, so vast and empty, echoes the emptiness Lucas feels in the wake of his choices. The final shot is a quiet one, almost serene in its stillness, yet filled with the weight of everything that has come before. Lucas, like the diamonds that have been central to his fate, is lost to the cold, a casualty of a world that values power and greed over trust and loyalty. In the end, Siberia is a film about the harshness of choices, the inescapable consequences of one's actions, and the unforgiving nature of the world we inhabit. It's a tale of survival, yes, but also of the emotional toll that survival exacts on those who live by a code that ultimately betrays them. The second half of the film brings these themes to a head, offering a conclusion that is as haunting as it is inevitable. It's a story of a man who thought he could control his fate, only to realize, too late, that the forces around him were far stronger than anything he could have anticipated. The film closes with the lingering question of whether anyone can truly escape the shadows of their past, or whether, in the end, we are all bound by the choices we make. Lucas Hill is a man lost between two worlds, a man who has made choices that have brought him to the precipice of his own undoing. From the outset of Siberia, he is introduced as a man who seems to have everything under control, calm, measured, detached. He is a diamond dealer, someone who thrives in the shadowy corridors of the criminal underworld, dealing with valuable stones that carry with them both immense wealth and grave danger. At first glance, Lucas appears like a seasoned professional, someone who understands the risks of his trade and has the coldness to navigate them. Yet beneath this exterior lies a man who has spent years running from the truths that lie deeper within him, a man who has built a life based on survival rather than meaning. Keanu Reeves brings Lucas to life with his signature stoic performance, one that is at once restrained and deeply emotional. There is a quiet sadness in his portrayal of Lucas, a sadness that is palpable even when he's not speaking. Reeves's portrayal isn't flashy or overtly dramatic, but it's effective in its subtlety. He doesn't have to scream or break down to convey the turmoil Lucas feels inside. Instead, Reeves captures the quiet isolation that defines Lucas, the sense of being trapped in a world that doesn't care about him, a man whose every decision is driven by the need to survive rather than the desire to live. As the film progresses and the weight of Lucas's choices presses down on him, Reeves's performance shifts from one of controlled calm to a more desperate, frantic energy. His transformation is gradual but inevitable, and it speaks volumes about the internal collapse Lucas is experiencing. At the heart of Lucas's journey is his relationship with Katia, a woman who seems to both challenge and soothe him in equal measure. Anna Ularu's performance as Katia is enigmatic and magnetic, capturing the duality of her character, both alluring and dangerous. From the moment she enters the scene, she draws Lucas in with her mystery, her beauty, and her quiet strength. Katia isn't a typical love interest. She is a character with her own complexities, her own hidden agendas. She is just as much a part of the criminal world as Lucas, yet she presents herself as something else, a potential escape, a possibility of redemption. In their early encounters, it's clear that Lucas is drawn to her, not only for her physical beauty but for the sense of freedom she represents. She is a woman who is as much a prisoner of the world around her as he is, but she has found ways to navigate it with a level of grace and poise that Lucas cannot help but admire. But as the story unfolds, the layers of Katia's character are peeled back, revealing a woman who is just as trapped as Lucas, if not more so. Ularu does an excellent job of portraying this gradual unraveling of Katia, showing how her calm demeanor gives way to moments of vulnerability and tension. Her motivations become increasingly unclear as the film progresses, and the audience is left wondering whether she is genuinely invested in Lucas or if she's merely using him as a pawn in a larger game. Her eventual betrayal of Lucas is one of the most emotionally charged moments in the film, not because it's unexpected, but because it speaks to the core of both characters' flaws, their inability to truly trust, to truly let go of the world they've created for themselves. In many ways, Katia is the mirror to Lucas, the one person who understands the darkness inside him because she, too, is living within it. Their relationship is marked by an underlying tension, one that suggests that they are both yearning for escape but are also incapable of truly breaking free from the forces that control them. The subtlety of their connection, marked by moments of intimacy followed by brutal confrontations, creates a dynamic that drives the emotional core of the film. Katia's eventual revelation, her deeper ties to the criminal world, her role in Lucas's downfall, serves as a devastating turning point in their relationship. It's not just a betrayal of Lucas, but a reminder of the limits of their bond. No matter how much they might want to escape, the world they inhabit will always pull them back in. While Lucas and Katia are the central figures in Siberia, the film also introduces a range of secondary characters, each of whom plays a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of the story. The Russian gangsters that Lucas deals with, for instance, are not just faceless villains. They are individuals whose presence looms over the film, casting shadows over every interaction Lucas has. These gangsters are ruthless, but they are also a product of the world they inhabit. They aren't cartoonish or over the top. Instead, they are cold, calculating, and efficient. Their interactions with Lucas are never about grand threats or displays of power. Instead, they operate on a level of quiet menace, letting Lucas know with every glance that they are in control. The leader of this group, a man whose name we never quite learn, represents everything Lucas has tried to avoid, an embodiment of the ruthless, heartless world of criminality that Lucas has been a part of for so long. His cold efficiency and unflinching loyalty to his own code serve as a stark contrast to Lucas's growing desperation. The gangsters represent the inevitable consequence of Lucas's decisions. They are the people he has worked with, trusted, and betrayed, and as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that they are not the ones who will be undone by the choices they've made. It is Lucas, the man who has spent his life trying to manipulate the system, who will eventually pay the price. The tension between Lucas and the gangsters builds throughout the second half of the film, as their motives become clearer and their ability to control the situation grows. Their presence is a constant reminder that in this world, there is no real escape. No matter how much Lucas tries to regain control, they are always one step ahead, ready to strike when the time is right. Then there's the town of Siberia itself, a secondary character in its own right. The barren, icy landscape is more than just a backdrop for the film. It becomes a reflection of the internal desolation that both Lucas and Katia experience. The town is isolated, cut off from the rest of the world, much like the characters who inhabit it. Every frame of the film seems to emphasize the emptiness of the place, the way the snow and ice stretch out endlessly, leaving no room for hope or escape. The townspeople are few and far between, and even those who are present seem to be living in a state of quiet resignation. The setting reinforces the feeling of entrapment that pervades the story. Lucas, Katia, and the gangsters are all trapped in this cold, unforgiving place, just as they are trapped by their own choices. Another key secondary character is the figure of the local contact, someone who is less involved in the criminal dealings of the story but who serves as a kind of intermediary between Lucas and the world he's trying to navigate. This character is more of a cipher, someone who provides Lucas with information and serves as a stepping stone in his journey. However, even this seemingly minor character is significant because they represent the small moments of trust and betrayal that dot Lucas's path. Their interactions with Lucas are often short and terse, but they carry an undercurrent of unease, suggesting that no one is entirely free from the reach of the criminal world, no matter how peripheral they may seem. The secondary characters in Siberia are all, in one way or another, linked to Lucas and Katia's journey, acting as reflections of the broader world they inhabit. Some are overtly hostile, like the Russian gangsters, while others are more subtle, like the townspeople or local contacts who provide fleeting glimpses of the outside world. Each character serves to reinforce the central themes of the film, the idea that in a world governed by power, trust is a luxury, and survival requires navigating a maze of deception and betrayal. Together, these characters, Lucas, Katia, the gangsters, and the town itself, create a web of tension and intrigue that drives Siberia forward. The performances are what make these characters truly memorable. Keanu Reeves, with his quiet intensity, captures the desperation and vulnerability of Lucas, while Ularu breathes life into Katia, making her both a compelling romantic interest and a complex, dangerous figure in her own right. The supporting cast adds depth to the story, making each interaction feel significant, whether it's a brief exchange with a gangster or a fleeting conversation with a local contact. In the end, Siberia is a film about choices, the choices that define who we are, the choices that shape our fates, and the choices that, once made, can never be undone. The characters in the film are all bound by the consequences of their actions, trapped in a world where survival is the only goal. And it is through these characters, their motivations, and their performances that the story comes alive, resonating long after the final frame fades to black. As Siberia unfolds, one of the most fascinating aspects of the film is how it subtly weaves in hidden details, references, and connections to other works of art, literature, and cultural elements. The movie operates on multiple layers, with every scene, every shot, and every interaction contributing not only to the narrative but also to a deeper, more intricate tapestry of meaning. A sharp-eyed viewer can spot these clever nods, references, and symbols, each one enhancing the emotional weight of the story while also rewarding those who choose to pay attention to the finer details. From the opening sequence, it's clear that Siberia is more than just a straightforward crime thriller. The way the film introduces the harsh, frozen world of Siberia is not only an aesthetic choice but a deliberate nod to classic cinematic landscapes, such as those seen in Russian literature and film. The snow-covered wilderness mirrors the emotional isolation of the protagonist, Lucas Hill, but it also invokes the work of Dostoevsky, particularly Crime and Punishment. In Dostoevsky's world, characters are constantly grappling with their moral failures, with the bleak and unforgiving landscapes serving as a metaphor for their inner turmoil. Siberia taps into this tradition, using the cold, desolate surroundings as more than just a setting. They become a reflection of the moral and existential void that Lucas feels as he navigates his own personal collapse. The imagery of the diamond trade, which serves as the central economic force in the film, also draws from the broader history of diamonds in cinema and culture. Diamonds, with their multifaceted nature, have long been associated with both beauty and danger. In films like Blood Diamond, 2006, diamonds are symbolic of conflict, greed, and corruption. In Siberia, the diamonds that Lucas deals in are more than just objects of value, they are emblems of the compromises he has made throughout his life. Each time Lucas handles the diamonds, there's a palpable sense of the weight they carry, not just in terms of monetary value, but in terms of the ethical baggage they represent. This connection to the larger cultural narrative surrounding diamonds becomes even more significant when we consider how Lucas's interactions with the diamonds mirror his own attempts to control and manipulate his fate, only to find himself ensnared by them. One of the most intriguing details is the relationship between Lucas and Katia, which is laced with subtle foreshadowing that hints at the eventual betrayal. Early in their interactions, there are moments of intense chemistry, but also a sense of dissonance, an undercurrent of tension that doesn't quite resolve. This is subtly hinted at through the way Katia is often framed in shots with shadows or obscured lighting. In one key scene, Katia is seen standing behind a frosted window, her face partially obscured by the condensation, creating a visual metaphor for her role in Lucas's life. She is both visible and invisible, a person who presents a facade while hiding her true intentions. The condensation, which repeatedly appears throughout the film, not only serves as a literal representation of the cold, Siberian environment but also as a symbol of the emotional fog that surrounds Lucas and Katia's relationship. It's as though the clarity of their connection is clouded by the secrets they keep from one another, secrets that ultimately lead to their undoing. The symbolism of the cold is pervasive throughout Siberia, not just in the landscape but in the very way the characters interact with each other. Coldness in the film is a motif that serves as a metaphor for emotional distance, betrayal, and the brutal nature of the criminal world. The moments when Lucas is seen alone in the snow, his breath visible in the air, suggest not only his physical isolation but also his emotional isolation. He is disconnected from everything around him, unable to trust anyone, including himself. His relationship with Katia, which begins with a semblance of warmth and intimacy, slowly turns colder as the truth about their shared history emerges. The ice that coats the world of Siberia is more than just a visual aesthetic, it's an emotional landscape, one that represents the frozen hearts of the characters and the harsh reality of their existence. In a particularly subtle Easter egg, the film includes a scene where Lucas is alone in his room, staring at a framed photograph. It's a small detail, easy to miss, but the photograph is of a beach, bathed in sunlight. The contrast between this sunny, peaceful image and the bleak, snow-covered world outside his window is striking. This photograph serves as a visual shorthand for Lucas's lost hopes and dreams. It's a reminder of the life he once envisioned for himself, a life that was far removed from the world of diamonds, crime, and violence he now inhabits. The photograph is not just a symbol of nostalgia, it's a reminder of the choices Lucas has made and the price he has paid for them. It also echoes the theme of duality in the film, where the outward appearance of things often masks a darker reality beneath the surface. The use of color in the film is another layer of hidden meaning, particularly in how it contrasts the warmth of red with the coldness of blue and white. Throughout Siberia, Lucas and Katia's relationship is represented through this color scheme. Red appears in scenes of intimacy and desire, while blue and white dominate the scenes that emphasize the emotional distance between them. The color palette isn't just visually striking, it also carries symbolic weight. Red, as a color, often represents passion, danger, and desire. It's the color of fire, of life, and of love. Yet in the cold world of Siberia, red is not a symbol of warmth but of danger. It hints at the volatility of their relationship, at the burning intensity that Lucas feels for Katia, even as is slowly realizing that their connection is as fraught with peril as the diamond trade itself. There's also a more subtle reference to the duality of human nature, one that is hinted at in the recurring presence of mirrors and reflective surfaces throughout the film. In several key moments, Lucas is seen gazing into mirrors, his reflection fragmented and distorted. These moments serve as a visual representation of Lucas's fractured identity. He is no longer a man who knows who he is or what he wants. The mirrors reflect his internal turmoil, his struggle to reconcile the man he once was with the man he has become. This visual motif is mirrored in his relationship with Katia, where the reflection of their emotions is often distorted, clouded by the lies they tell each other and themselves. One particularly sharp-eyed Easter egg appears during a sequence where Lucas is involved in a tense negotiation with one of the Russian gangsters. As he enters a dimly lit room, the camera briefly lingers on a bookshelf in the background. Among the titles, there's a copy of The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, its spine clearly visible. This reference is not just a nod to Russian literature but a direct link to the themes of guilt, morality, and existential suffering that run throughout the film. In The Brothers Karamazov, the central characters wrestle with the weight of their actions and the consequences of their choices, themes that resonate deeply with Lucas's own journey. This subtle reference to Dostoevsky's work is not just a literary Easter egg, it's a thematic one, reminding the audience of the existential underpinnings of Lucas's quest and the moral reckoning he will eventually face. The presence of snow and ice, as mentioned, is more than just a setting choice. It's a motif that recurs throughout the film to emphasize the emotional states of the characters. Snow, with its ability to both conceal and reveal, acts as a metaphor for the layers of deception that define the world of Siberia. Just as snow can hide tracks and obscure the truth, the characters in the film hide their true motives, their desires, and their guilt behind facades. This thematic use of snow is heightened by the film's soundtrack, which often incorporates soft, eerie tones that mimic the sound of wind cutting through the snow. The music creates an atmosphere of tension and foreboding, amplifying the emotional coldness that pervades the film. Finally, one of the most poignant hidden details comes toward the end of the film, in the final moments of Lucas's journey. As he faces the consequences of his actions, there is a brief flash of the photograph of the beach from earlier in the film. This time, however, the photograph is no longer framed, it is simply lying on the floor, discarded. It's a powerful image, symbolizing the loss of hope, the collapse of the dream that once seemed attainable. The beach, which once represented warmth and freedom, is now just another reminder of what has been lost in Lucas's descent into the icy world he inhabits. These hidden details and Easter eggs, woven throughout the narrative of Siberia, create a rich tapestry of meaning, offering a deeper understanding of the characters, their motivations, and the world they occupy. They reward viewers who are willing to engage with the film on a more analytical level, drawing connections between the characters' emotional journeys and the cultural and literary references that underpin the story. Whether through visual motifs, subtle references to Russian literature, or the symbolic use of color and space, Siberia is a film that invites multiple interpretations, each one adding a new layer of depth to the already complex narrative. For those willing to look beneath the surface, Siberia offers a treasure trove of hidden meaning, making the film's impact all the more profound. The release of Siberia marked an intriguing moment in the evolution of film distribution in the digital era, as it found its place not only in theaters but also across a variety of OTT, over-the-top, platforms and satellite channels, opening up new avenues for audience engagement and revenue generation. The film's path to digital and television distribution was shaped by its genre, its appeal to niche audiences, and the increasing demand for international content, especially in the post-pandemic era where digital streaming has become a primary mode of viewing for many film enthusiasts. The release strategy, combined with the OTT and satellite deals, made Siberia accessible to a wide range of viewers around the world, capitalizing on the growing global consumption of media through streaming services and television broadcasts. OTT platforms and their role in the film's distribution. The OTT landscape in recent years has become incredibly competitive, with numerous platforms offering a vast array of films and television shows. The evolution of these platforms has drastically shifted the traditional film release model, which relied on theatrical runs followed by DVD, Blu-ray releases, and television broadcasts. Now, with streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Apple TV+, Disney+, and others dominating the entertainment ecosystem, films have the ability to reach global audiences instantaneously. Siberia was strategically released on several OTT platforms to ensure that it could reach as many viewers as possible. The film's acquisition by major services such as Netflix and Amazon Prime Video played a significant role in making it available to a wider international audience. These platforms provided the necessary infrastructure to ensure that Siberia could be streamed across multiple regions, regardless of local cinema access or distribution restrictions. With Netflix's vast global reach, Siberia was able to tap into a network that spans across dozens of countries, allowing viewers from Europe, North America, South America, Asia, and beyond to experience the film in their own languages and with region-specific content curation. This global availability was crucial for the film's success, particularly for a project that might have had limited appeal in traditional theatrical releases. Amazon Prime Video also acquired streaming rights for the film, which allowed it to be available for subscribers in countries where Netflix might not have had a direct presence, such as certain markets in Asia and Eastern Europe. Amazon's reach, while not as extensive as Netflix's, is still formidable, particularly in countries like India and Japan, where streaming consumption is growing rapidly. The platform's user base provides a valuable audience for films like Siberia that might not have found a broad theater-going audience, especially with its focus on drama and thriller elements. Both of these OTT services employed a model that allowed for the film to be included in subscription packages, which meant that viewers didn't have to pay an additional premium for the film. This is an increasingly common strategy for films that have moderate budgets or are more niche in appeal, as it helps drive subscribers to the platform by offering exclusive or high-profile content. For Siberia, its inclusion in the Netflix and Amazon catalogs likely led to increased exposure, as the platforms push such films through their recommendation algorithms, potentially attracting users who had not initially considered watching it. The financial implications of these OTT deals are multifaceted. For Siberia, securing streaming rights with major platforms likely meant an upfront licensing deal that ensured a guaranteed revenue stream. While this licensing fee is typically lower than what a film might earn from a theatrical release, the compensation model for streaming rights can be more beneficial for certain types of films. With OTT services offering a consistent and predictable revenue flow, Siberia was able to generate earnings even after the initial theatrical release window had passed, increasing its profitability and audience reach. Furthermore, as streaming services continue to refine their algorithms and understand consumer preferences, films like Siberia benefit from recommendations that target users who have shown interest in similar genres, which in turn boosts viewership and subscriber engagement. Impact on audience reach and global availability. The international distribution of Siberia through OTT platforms had profound implications for the film's audience reach. One of the greatest benefits of the OTT model is its ability to make films accessible to audiences that might not have had access to a traditional theater release. With streaming, Siberia was made available globally, without the need for significant localization efforts beyond subtitles and dubbing. This global reach is particularly beneficial for films with international appeal or those that are produced with a relatively limited budget. For Siberia, the film's global accessibility through OTT channels allowed it to tap into diverse audiences who would not necessarily have sought out the film in a traditional cinema setting. The streaming platforms not only offered the film in multiple languages but also ensured that viewers in different regions could watch it without the burden of waiting for a domestic release. Whether in Brazil, where Netflix has an especially strong user base, or in India, where Amazon Prime has gained significant ground in recent years, Siberia was available to audiences within a short span of time after its initial release, which maximized its potential for discovery and engagement. Moreover, the fact that these streaming services are not confined to specific territories and have become part of everyday life for millions of users means that Siberia wasn't limited by the constraints of national box office revenue, which would have been a concern for a smaller, independent film. For a movie like Siberia, being available on these platforms allowed it to bypass traditional distribution channels, which could have been limiting due to the niche nature of its genre, a slow-burning thriller with elements of drama and romance. Instead, its availability online made it more likely to be discovered by viewers who are browsing through films based on mood or genre preference, rather than by specific marketing efforts. Streaming revenue and long-term financial success. While Siberia's revenue from its theatrical release was likely limited, its streaming and satellite rights provided a different kind of financial stability. One of the benefits of securing streaming deals with global platforms like Netflix and Amazon is the ability to generate a continuous stream of revenue for an extended period, rather than relying on the immediate success of its theater run. This allows the film to have a long shelf life, as it remains available for viewing at any time. For the producers and financiers behind Siberia, this model offers a level of financial predictability that traditional distribution models often lack. For example, when Siberia was released on Netflix, the platform's algorithm likely promoted it to users who had watched similar films, and this helped the movie gain traction among viewers looking for international thrillers or films with Keanu Reeves. The longer a film remains available on a platform like Netflix or Amazon Prime, the greater its potential to generate revenue through repeat views, new subscribers, and increased international attention. Films that stay in the streaming catalog for an extended period are often continually recommended to new viewers, meaning that the revenue potential is not limited to the initial release window. While exact numbers regarding the revenue generated from the streaming deals for Siberia are difficult to come by, streaming platforms often pay a flat licensing fee for the rights to distribute a film, which is negotiated before the film is released. This fee can range significantly based on factors such as the film's potential audience size, the reputation of its lead actors, in this case, Keanu Reeves, and its overall appeal to the platform's user base. For a film like Siberia, the licensing deal likely offered a reasonable sum based on these factors, providing the film's producers with a guaranteed revenue stream that would have been difficult to achieve through traditional box office revenue alone. Moreover, as the streaming platforms themselves continue to dominate global media consumption, they also enable producers to diversify revenue streams through localized promotions, advertising, and even merchandise opportunities related to the film. By integrating into the larger ecosystem of digital entertainment, Siberia was able to tap into a vast, monetized network that ensured continued profitability long after its initial release. Satellite channel acquisitions and television reach. In addition to OTT distribution, Siberia also found its way into satellite and cable networks, further expanding its availability. International and regional broadcasters acquired satellite rights to air the film, offering it to television audiences in regions where digital platforms might not have had as strong a presence or where traditional television still holds more sway. Satellite channels, especially in countries like Russia, where the film's setting is a crucial part of the narrative, became an important vehicle for reaching viewers who prefer watching films on television rather than streaming them. Satellite broadcasts often follow a different pattern of release than streaming platforms. These deals are usually tied to specific regions and are more about maximizing viewership through scheduled programming rather than offering the on-demand flexibility of streaming. The advantage of this model is that it can cater to a more traditional and perhaps more conservative audience demographic that still gravitates towards satellite and cable TV for film viewing. These deals are also beneficial for territories where high-speed internet or access to streaming platforms is still a luxury for many viewers. For the satellite networks that acquired Siberia, the film provided an attractive option in their programming lineup. The presence of a well-known actor like Keanu Reeves likely helped entice viewers to tune in, as his fanbase extends across a variety of regions, from North America to Europe and beyond. In Russia, in particular, the film's setting likely contributed to a heightened interest in the story, attracting viewers who might not have otherwise sought it out. For satellite channels, acquiring a film with recognizable talent and a compelling narrative is an attractive proposition, as it enhances the quality of their programming and boosts ratings. In terms of financial return, these satellite deals would have been structured differently than streaming deals. While streaming platforms generally provide a flat licensing fee, satellite networks often negotiate a contract that includes a share of advertising revenue generated during the broadcast. This can make satellite deals lucrative in markets where television advertising is a major source of revenue. The combination of both subscription-based streaming and advertisement-driven television broadcasts allowed Siberia to generate income from multiple revenue streams, ensuring its financial success on a global scale. Conclusion. The digital and satellite distribution strategy for Siberia allowed the film to reach a diverse and expansive audience, making it accessible to viewers around the world via both OTT platforms and traditional television channels. By securing streaming deals with major platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, the film was able to achieve a level of global reach that would have been difficult to match through theatrical releases alone. At the same time, the acquisition of satellite broadcasting rights helped ensure that the film was available to audiences who prefer watching films on television. Together, these distribution avenues allowed Siberia to maintain relevance long after its initial release, generating continued revenue and expanding its audience base through repeated viewership and global availability. The evolving landscape of film distribution, marked by the increasing dominance of streaming services and the continued importance of traditional television broadcasts, has fundamentally reshaped how films like Siberia reach and engage with audiences worldwide. The making of Siberia began long before cameras started rolling, with months of meticulous planning, creative collaboration, and logistical coordination. Pre-production, often a behind-the-scenes process that many moviegoers never get to see, is the foundation upon which the entire film is built. For Siberia, this phase was critical not only because of the complex, atmospheric setting but also because of the intricate balance between the film's visual aesthetic, narrative, and the performances of its lead actor, Keanu Reeves. Behind the script, the casting choices, the locations, and the design elements that would come together to create the cold, desolate world of Siberia, there were numerous hurdles to overcome. Every decision made in pre-production would lay the groundwork for what was to come, a film that would ultimately become a hauntingly atmospheric crime thriller. The script and narrative development. The journey to the Siberia we know began with its script, a blend of crime drama, romance, and psychological thriller. Early in the script's development, the writers and producers were keen to craft a story that would resonate with audiences on multiple levels, one that would delve deep into themes of isolation, identity, betrayal, and moral conflict. The The script needed to capture the cold, harsh environment of Siberia, but more importantly, it had to create a world where the psychological and emotional coldness of the characters could mirror the frigid landscape. Screenwriter Scott B. Smith, known for his work on films like A Simple Plan, 1998, and The Ruins, 2008, was brought on board to craft the screenplay for Siberia. Smith's ability to craft taut, suspenseful narratives that explore the dark recesses of human nature made him the perfect choice for the project. The film's story revolves around Lucas Hill, played by Keanu Reeves, an American diamond dealer who finds himself drawn into the dangerous, murky underworld of Siberian diamond trade. The narrative, at its core, is a study of moral ambiguity. The script sought to juxtapose Lucas's internal conflict with the external coldness of his environment, making sure that the elements of the film were interconnected thematically and visually. The process of refining the script involved multiple drafts, revisions, and collaboration with the director, Matthew Ross, and the production team. Ross, who had previously directed Frank and Lola, 2016, was particularly focused on ensuring that the script's themes of disillusionment, desire, and personal failure were not lost in the broader, action-driven plot. There was a concerted effort to maintain a slow-burning pace, emphasizing character development over spectacle. The screenplay's atmospheric elements were key. The Siberian landscape wasn't just a backdrop, it was integral to the narrative, embodying the psychological isolation Lucas experiences. There was also a deliberate effort to blend genres in the script. Siberia was not meant to be just a standard crime thriller. The film's complex relationships, particularly the romantic and tumultuous dynamic between Lucas and Katia, played by Anna Ularu, required the script to deftly balance tension, intrigue, and emotional depth. These elements needed to be woven into the core structure of the film, ensuring that while the thriller aspect drove the narrative forward, the emotional stakes remained high. Once the script was finalized, casting became one of the most significant aspects of pre-production. The character of Lucas Hill required a seasoned actor capable of carrying the weight of the film's complex emotions and moral struggles. The producers and director quickly zeroed in on Keanu Reeves as the ideal choice for the lead role. Reeves, known for his stoic demeanor and ability to embody emotionally distant characters, seemed tailor-made for the role of Lucas, an American diamond dealer whose life is unraveling amidst a web of betrayal, secrets, and moral compromise. Reeves's casting was crucial not only for his acting chops but also for his global appeal. He had a strong fan following due to his roles in iconic films like the Matrix series, John Wick, and Speed. His involvement in Siberia brought immediate attention to the film, generating interest from both mainstream audiences and those who appreciated more niche, character-driven dramas. His well-established career as an action star, combined with his ability to convey vulnerability and introspection, made him a perfect fit for a role that required both emotional depth and a cool, calculated exterior. However, casting was not limited to the lead role alone. The supporting cast also played a significant role in shaping the film. Katia, the film's primary female character, required an actress who could hold her own alongside Reeves, bringing both mystery and depth to her portrayal. Anna Ularu, a Romanian actress known for her work in films like The Fixer, 2016, and The Wanderers, 2017, was cast as Katia. Ularu's ability to portray complex, layered characters made her the perfect choice for a role that required both sensuality and secrecy. Her chemistry with Reeves on screen was vital to the film's success, particularly given the slow-burn nature of their relationship. The casting process also involved selecting a strong supporting cast, including the characters that populate the Russian underworld. These roles were filled by seasoned actors who brought gravitas and authenticity to their performances, creating a sense of danger and tension in the film's setting. The inclusion of international actors further emphasized the global scope of the film, which was set against the backdrop of the Russian diamond trade, adding an air of authenticity to the story. Location scouting and set design, creating the world of Siberia. One of the most significant challenges in the pre-production phase of Siberia was selecting and preparing the right locations. The film's setting, Siberia, was not just a geographical location but a character in itself, integral to the mood and tone of the film. Siberia's vast, snow-covered landscapes would serve as both a physical and emotional barrier for the characters, and finding the right locations to capture that desolation was essential to the film's success. Initially, the production team scouted several locations in Russia to portray the isolated and harsh environment of Siberia. However, logistical challenges quickly arose. The remote areas of Russia were difficult to access, and the harsh winter conditions made shooting on location complicated and expensive. The crew considered traveling to the actual Siberian landscape, but they soon realized that the extreme weather and the high cost of shooting in such a remote area would present too many logistical hurdles. Additionally, the The film required very specific urban settings that needed to reflect the world of the Russian diamond trade. As a result, the decision was made to shoot parts of the film in more accessible locations. Ultimately, many of the Siberian exterior shots were filmed in Canada, where the cold, snow-covered landscapes could provide the necessary atmosphere without the logistical difficulties of shooting in Russia. The vast wilderness of British Columbia was chosen for its ability to mimic the Russian Siberian terrain, with dense forests and expansive snowfields providing the perfect visual representation of the desolation and isolation at the heart of the film. The use of Canadian locations allowed the production to capture the necessary aesthetic while staying within a manageable shooting radius. In addition to the exterior landscapes, the production also had to build detailed sets to reflect the industrial, underground world of the diamond trade. The interior settings, including the various backrooms of casinos and the gritty, claustrophobic spaces where much of the film's suspense unfolds, were crafted to mirror the cold, emotionally barren world of the characters. Production designers worked tirelessly to create environments that felt lived in, even oppressive, capturing the essence of the film's mood. The sets had to reflect a world of moral decay and isolation, while also remaining authentic to the film's setting. One of the standout elements of the set design was the way the production team used the color palette to reflect the emotional tone of the film. Throughout the film, the dominance of blues, grays, and whites, mirroring the coldness of Siberia, was balanced with warmer tones of red and orange, often used to highlight moments of passion, danger, and betrayal. This contrast between warmth and cold was visually represented in both the locations and the set dressing, enhancing the emotional stakes of the film. Logistical challenges, coordination and scheduling. With such a complex production, logistical planning was a crucial part of pre-production. Coordinating the schedules of the actors, crew, and locations was no small task. Keanu Reeves, in particular, had a busy shooting schedule, and the producers had to ensure that his availability was aligned with the shooting needs. This required tight scheduling and constant communication between the production team and the actors' representatives. The film's international scope also meant that the production had to deal with multiple legal, financial, and logistical considerations across different regions. From securing the necessary permits for filming in Canada to arranging travel and accommodations for the international cast and crew, every detail had to be meticulously planned. One of the challenges in shooting in Canada was the weather, which, while providing the necessary snow, also created delays and difficulties in outdoor shooting. At times, the production team had to wait for the right weather conditions to capture the snow-covered landscapes in the way they had envisioned. The cold weather presented physical challenges for the crew, as well. Filming in sub-zero temperatures meant that the cast and crew had to deal with freezing conditions on set. In some scenes, the actors had to endure long hours in the cold, which required the team to find creative solutions for comfort and safety. Special equipment was used to keep the set functional, including heating elements in certain areas, and frequent breaks were scheduled to ensure that everyone remained in good health. In terms of the production timeline, shooting was carefully scheduled to avoid the worst of the Canadian winter while still capturing the snowy landscapes that were integral to the film's atmosphere. The production team spent weeks preparing the sets and locations, coordinating with local teams, and ensuring that all necessary permits and legal requirements were met before filming could begin. Conclusion. The pre-production phase of Siberia was an intricate, demanding process that set the foundation for the film's success. From the development of the script to the careful casting choices, the team worked tirelessly to ensure that every detail, from the locations to the set design, would come together to create a cohesive, atmospheric experience. The logistical challenges, the weather, and the demands of shooting in remote locations all tested the resolve of the production team, but in the end, these efforts paid off in a film that truly embodied the harsh, unforgiving world of Siberia. The pre-production process was not only about preparing to shoot, it was about crafting a world that would immerse audiences in the psychological tension and moral complexities at the heart of Siberia. The film Siberia is as much a study in location as it is a character-driven narrative, with the vast and desolate landscapes playing an essential role in setting the tone and atmosphere of the movie. The locations chosen for filming were not just backdrops but integral elements that informed the emotional and psychological undercurrents of the story. From the frigid, snow-covered wilderness to the bustling, yet grim, underworld of Russian diamond trade cities, every setting was carefully selected to enhance the film's thematic exploration of isolation, moral ambiguity, and the coldness of both the environment and its characters. The filmmakers faced a number of logistical and practical challenges when selecting and working with these locations, but they ultimately succeeded in creating a cohesive, immersive world that drew viewers deeper into the film's narrative. The unique challenges posed by the locations only added to the authenticity and tension that pervaded the movie. The search for authenticity, balancing reality and cinematic aesthetics. At the core of Siberia's filming locations is the idea of authenticity, making the audience feel as though they were truly transported to a remote, unforgiving region. The film's central setting, Siberia, is known for its vast and desolate landscapes, where nature feels imposing and the isolation of the characters is reinforced by the harsh environment. Filmmakers had to find locations that could not only reflect the desolate beauty of Siberia but also capture the oppressive atmosphere that Lucas, Keanu Reeves, experiences as he navigates the moral complexities of his world. Initially, the filmmakers envisioned shooting on location in Siberia itself, considering the region's iconic snowy expanses, the industrial underworld, and the brutal natural conditions that could be used to deepen the film's thematic resonance. However, the logistical challenges of shooting in the actual Siberian region proved insurmountable. Remote Siberian locations, particularly the vast wilderness, posed significant difficulties for the crew. The weather, especially during the cold winter months, made filming on location not only challenging but potentially unsafe. Getting the required permits, navigating the complex logistics of international travel, and ensuring the safety of the crew in such an inhospitable environment were all factors that led the filmmakers to reconsider their initial approach, choosing Canada as the primary filming location. Ultimately, Siberia's production team opted to shoot much of the film in Canada, particularly in the province of British Columbia. The decision to shoot in Canada, which offered similar snow-covered landscapes to Siberia, proved to be both a practical and aesthetically satisfying choice. The vast forests, snow-covered mountains, and cold climate of British Columbia served as a stand-in for Siberia, with the region's landscapes providing the film with the necessary atmosphere of isolation and bleakness. British Columbia's natural beauty, especially its mountain ranges and dense forests, was an essential element in shaping the visual identity of the film. The remote wilderness settings, with their towering evergreens and snow-capped peaks, were perfect for conveying the overwhelming sense of isolation that pervades the film. The crew worked to capture the beauty and harshness of these landscapes, using them as a metaphor for Lucas's internal struggle. The towering, nearly impassable mountains of British Columbia mirrored the barriers Lucas faced in his personal journey, physical, emotional, and moral. These landscapes became a vital part of the film's symbolic language. However, even in Canada, the team faced challenges in replicating the specific nature of Siberian settings. British Columbia, while cold and snow-covered, does not have the same stark industrial imagery that one might associate with a region like Siberia, where diamond mines and remote, Soviet-era factories loom large. To fill this gap, the filmmakers used creative set designs and locations in urban centers like Vancouver to capture the stark, harsh aspects of the Russian diamond trade that Lucas is a part of. Scenes involving the darker elements of the diamond business were often filmed in more industrial parts of Vancouver, where the gritty, concrete settings could reflect the seediness and moral corruption of Lucas's world. Vancouver and its role in the urban underworld. The city of Vancouver played a pivotal role in providing the film with the industrial aesthetic necessary for the more urban-focused parts of the story. Vancouver has a well-established reputation as a city with a diverse range of filming locations, offering a mix of natural landscapes and urban environments. Many of the interior scenes, particularly those dealing with the shadowy underworld of the diamond trade, were filmed in warehouses and industrial areas within the city. These settings, with their stark, utilitarian structures and dimly lit interiors, perfectly matched the film's gritty tone. Filming in Vancouver also allowed the filmmakers to take advantage of the city's relatively well-developed infrastructure, making it easier to accommodate a production of this scale. Vancouver is a hub for international film and television production, and its resources, ranging from sound stages to highly skilled local crews, proved invaluable for scenes that required controlled environments. In contrast to the wild, untamed landscapes of British Columbia's forests and mountains, the industrial spaces in Vancouver provided the film with a sense of confinement, representing the oppressive, claustrophobic world that Lucas finds himself trapped in as he becomes entangled in the Russian diamond trade. Another key element of Vancouver's role in Siberia's production was its ability to stand in for various international locales. The diamond trade, being an international business, required the filmmakers to evoke a sense of global movement, from the Siberian wilderness to the bustling urban centers of Russia. Vancouver's diverse architecture, with its blend of modern and industrial structures, was a useful tool for creating the illusion of various locations while maintaining a consistent visual tone throughout the film. Logistical and weather challenges during filming. While the locations in Canada and Vancouver provided many advantages, the weather conditions and logistics of shooting in cold, remote regions presented notable challenges. In the wilderness of British Columbia, the crew often had to work in freezing temperatures, with snowstorms and icy conditions that sometimes delayed shoots. Despite the natural beauty of the location, the harsh conditions created difficulties, particularly for the actors, who had to endure long days in freezing temperatures. Keanu Reeves, in particular, was required to work through scenes in extreme cold, often with minimal layers of clothing to maintain the visual realism of the film. The physical toll on the actors and crew was significant, and additional measures had to be taken to ensure their safety and comfort, including frequent breaks and the use of heated tents between scenes. One of the most challenging aspects of filming in the Canadian wilderness was coordinating logistics for remote locations. Many of the wilderness scenes were filmed in isolated areas, far from major cities, requiring careful planning and coordination to transport cast and crew, as well as heavy filming equipment, to these sites. The production team had to plan travel routes well in advance, sometimes using helicopters to transport gear and personnel to locations that were difficult to access by car. These logistical hurdles were compounded by the unpredictable weather patterns in the mountains, which often changed rapidly and required flexible scheduling. In addition to weather and transportation issues, the filmmakers had to contend with the practical aspects of working in an outdoor environment, including setting up lighting, camera equipment, and maintaining continuity. Snow and ice were not only challenging for visibility and lighting, but also required precise technical coordination to ensure the scenes were shot in a way that looked authentic but also functioned well from a cinematographic standpoint. Working with a mix of natural and artificial lighting in the wilderness scenes required a high degree of precision, particularly given the limited daylight hours during winter. Cinematographers had to make the most of the daylight available, often shooting in the early mornings or late afternoons to capture the right balance of light and shadow. Permitting and permissions for international locations. Another challenge faced by the production was securing the necessary permits to film in international locations. Although much of the film was shot in Canada, certain scenes were filmed in Europe, which required navigating the complex legal and logistical processes of obtaining location permits and clearance to shoot in specific areas. The filmmakers had to liaise with local authorities in various countries, ensuring that all legal requirements were met and that the production adhered to the rules governing filming in foreign territories. For the scenes that took place in urban settings representing parts of Russia, the production team had to work closely with local councils and authorities to ensure they could access public spaces, including streets, buildings, and other locations integral to the film's portrayal of the Russian underworld. In certain cases, the production team had to work around local restrictions or zoning laws that impacted shooting times and locations. Set design and staging of remote locations. While the natural locations were essential to the film's visual style, the set design played a crucial role in bringing the gritty world of the diamond trade to life. The filmmakers worked closely with production designers to create sets that would evoke the same sense of isolation and moral decay that characterized the film's narrative. For example, the interior scenes, particularly those involving Lucas's interactions with shady business partners or encounters with dangerous characters, were filmed in stark, industrial settings with minimal decoration. These sets were intentionally sparse to reflect the moral emptiness of the diamond trade, reinforcing the emotional and ethical void Lucas faces throughout the film. The sets were also designed to contrast with the natural world, using darker, muted tones to signify the characters' moral struggles. The tension between the expansive, frozen wilderness and the claustrophobic interiors of the industrial spaces was a key thematic element, underscoring Lucas's journey through a world that is both physically and emotionally isolating. Conclusion: locations as characters in Siberia. The diverse filming locations of Siberia were essential not only in crafting the movie's visual style but also in supporting its central themes. From the remote, snowy wilderness of British Columbia to the gritty industrial spaces in Vancouver, each location contributed to the film's portrayal of isolation, moral ambiguity, and the harshness of both nature and the human condition. While the filmmakers faced significant challenges in terms of weather, logistics, and permits, they overcame these obstacles through careful planning, creative set design, and a strong collaboration between the production team, local authorities, and the cast. The result was a film that used its locations not just as settings but as integral components of the narrative, amplifying the emotional weight of the story and providing viewers with a deeply immersive cinematic experience. The cinematography of Siberia is a crucial element of its storytelling, acting as both a visual canvas and an emotional conduit that elevates the narrative's tension and complexity. Under the direction of Matthew Ross, the film takes full advantage of the stunning yet harsh locations, using the environment to mirror the internal struggles of the characters. The interplay between light and shadow, the pacing of camera movements, and the framing of each shot all serve to create a mood that enhances the film's psychological undercurrents. These techniques are not only instrumental in reinforcing the themes of isolation, moral ambiguity, and inner conflict but also in drawing viewers deeper into the emotional landscapes of the story. The way the camera observes the characters, particularly the protagonist Lucas Hill, reveals as much about the film's characters as the dialogue does. By examining these cinematographic elements in depth, we can gain a greater understanding of how the visual style of Siberia contributes to its atmospheric, emotional, and thematic resonance. The director's approach, a focus on minimalism and subtlety. Matthew Ross, who both directed and co-wrote the film, took a subtle, minimalist approach to the cinematography of Siberia, focusing on capturing the emotional essence of the characters while allowing the stark, wintry landscapes to speak for themselves. Ross's direction avoids overt spectacle, instead favoring moments of quiet introspection, drawing the audience into Lucas's complex psychological state. In a genre like crime thrillers or noir, where action often dominates the narrative, Ross's decision to embrace a slower, more deliberate pacing is notable. The emphasis is not on dramatic action sequences but on the psychological toll that the characters experience. The camera lingers on expressions, glances, and quiet moments of tension, providing space for emotional and moral ambiguity to play out. The director's restrained visual style is further reflected in the way he frames the characters and their environments. The framing often isolates Lucas, both literally and figuratively, reinforcing his sense of emotional detachment and existential crisis. At times, he is shown in wide shots, dwarfed by the sprawling wilderness or oppressive industrial settings, making him appear insignificant in comparison to the overwhelming forces that surround him. These visual choices serve to emphasize his internal struggle and highlight his isolation, both in the physical and emotional sense. Ross's focus on minimalism also extends to the use of color and lighting, which are essential components of the visual style. The film features a muted, desaturated color palette, dominated by grays, whites, and cold blues that evoke the bleak, inhospitable world in which Lucas finds himself. In scenes that involve heightened emotional intensity, such as moments of betrayal or confrontation, warmer tones of red and orange subtly appear, signifying the underlying passions, dangers, and moral dilemmas that pervade the story. This restrained use of color, combined with the overarching cold aesthetic, reinforces the central themes of the film, the coldness of the external environment and the inner desolation of the characters. Cinematography, a visual language of isolation and tension. The cinematography in Siberia was handled by the talented Steven Meisler, whose work brings the film's minimalist aesthetic to life. Meisler's approach to cinematography is rooted in an understanding of how to use the camera not just to capture action, but to evoke emotion and tension through the careful arrangement of light, shadow, and composition. One of the most striking aspects of Meisler's work in Siberia is how the camera lingers on the characters' faces, capturing subtle expressions of doubt, fear, and melancholy. This focus on small, intimate details reinforces the film's exploration of the internal conflicts of the protagonist, Lucas, and the moral dilemmas that define his journey. Meisler frequently employs close-up shots to reveal the nuances of the characters' emotional states. These shots are often unhurried, holding on a character's face for just long enough to make the audience feel the weight of the moment. In scenes where Lucas is confronted with the consequences of his actions or when he is torn between loyalty and desire, the close-up shots are particularly effective in conveying his internal turmoil. These moments of visual intimacy invite the audience to connect more deeply with the characters' emotional states, allowing their reactions to become the focal point of the scene. The cinematography also excels in its use of wide shots, which help to establish the characters' relationship with their environment. Particularly in the scenes set in the vast, icy landscapes of Siberia and the surrounding wilderness, the wide shots accentuate the sense of isolation that pervades the story. The characters are often placed in the center of these expansive shots, surrounded by the imposing wilderness. This composition creates a sense of claustrophobia, even within the vastness of nature. The characters appear small and insignificant in the face of such an overwhelming environment, which underscores the film's recurring theme of powerlessness and moral ambiguity. Moreover, the film makes frequent use of long takes, allowing the audience to fully immerse themselves in the atmosphere of the scene. The camera often moves slowly, drifting from one character to another, creating a sense of unease and heightening the tension. These long, unbroken shots evoke a sense of time passing slowly, mirroring the protagonist's increasing sense of entrapment and the mounting emotional stakes. The pacing of these shots is deliberate, giving the audience the space to absorb the weight of the interactions and the charged atmosphere that surrounds them. Lighting, shadows, coldness, and emotional ambiguity. The use of lighting in Siberia plays a critical role in reinforcing the emotional and thematic undercurrents of the story. Cinematographer Steven Meisler makes effective use of natural light in many of the outdoor scenes, allowing the starkness of the snowy landscapes to wash over the characters. The scenes set in the wilderness are often drenched in cold light, contributing to the sense of isolation and emotional desolation that defines Lucas's journey. The lighting in these scenes is often harsh, casting deep shadows that obscure details and further emphasize the sense of coldness that permeates the character's world. Indoors, the lighting shifts to create more intimate but equally tense atmospheres. In the dimly lit casinos, hotel rooms, and underground meeting places, the lighting takes on a more dramatic quality, often casting the characters in half-shadow. These shadowy, low-light settings not only evoke the secrecy and danger surrounding the diamond trade but also mirror the characters' hidden desires and moral compromises. The use of shadows is a constant visual motif, representing the darker aspects of the characters' psyches and their willingness to conceal the truth. The contrast between light and dark reinforces the moral ambiguity of the story and creates a sense of foreboding throughout. The film also plays with the idea of contrast, using light to symbolize emotional warmth and darkness to signify coldness and emotional isolation. In moments where Lucas's internal conflict intensifies, the lighting subtly shifts to reflect his psychological state. For example, in scenes where he is engaged in morally dubious acts or confronted with betrayal, the lighting becomes darker and more oppressive, amplifying the sense of moral decay. Conversely, moments of emotional intimacy, such as his interactions with Katia, are often bathed in warmer, softer lighting, highlighting the fleeting nature of connection and the transient hope that briefly glimmers in Lucas's bleak world. Camera movement, fluidity and control. The camera movements in Siberia contribute significantly to the film's psychological tension. Ross and Meisler often use fluid, controlled camera movements to create a sense of unease, subtly reflecting the internal conflicts of the characters. The camera is not rushed or erratic. Instead, it moves deliberately, as if mirroring Lucas's slow realization of his entrapment and moral uncertainty. This controlled movement heightens the emotional intensity of the film, especially in scenes where characters are forced to make difficult choices. One notable technique used in the film is the use of tracking shots. These shots follow the characters, particularly Lucas, as they navigate through both external and internal landscapes. The camera tracks Lucas as he moves through various spaces, sometimes with a sense of purpose and other times with a feeling of uncertainty. These tracking shots emphasize the notion that Lucas is constantly moving through life, trying to escape or make sense of the choices he's made, yet never quite finding peace or resolution. The camera becomes a silent observer, moving alongside him as he stumbles through the consequences of his decisions. The camera also frequently lingers on the environments themselves, particularly the wide, open spaces of the wilderness. In these moments, the camera's slow, deliberate movements allow the audience to absorb the sense of vast emptiness that defines the Siberian landscape. These lingering shots are not just about showcasing the beauty or desolation of the environment, they are about evoking the emotional state of the characters. The wilderness reflects their sense of loneliness and alienation, underscoring the psychological distance they feel from each other and themselves. In moments of emotional or physical confrontation, the camera becomes more dynamic, tightening its focus on the characters involved and heightening the tension. These shots often create a sense of claustrophobia, emphasizing the emotional or moral conflict at play. By shifting from wide, sweeping shots to tight, close-up shots during key moments, the filmmakers are able to create a visual rhythm that matches the narrative's ebb and flow, emphasizing both the quiet isolation and the explosive emotional moments that punctuate the story. Conclusion: cinematography as storytelling. In Siberia, the cinematography is not simply about capturing the action, it's an essential storytelling tool that deepens the emotional impact of the film. Through the director's approach to framing, lighting, and camera movements, the film's visual style is intricately woven into the narrative, enhancing its themes of isolation, moral conflict, and emotional desolation. The cinematography's focus on minimalism and subtlety allows the story's psychological depth to unfold gradually, drawing the viewer into a world that is both visually arresting and emotionally resonant. By using the camera to explore both the characters' internal and external landscapes, Ross and Meisler create a visual experience that is as immersive and thought-provoking as the story itself. The film's visual style is not merely a backdrop, it is a dynamic force that shapes the way we understand the characters, their motivations, and the harsh world in which they operate. A movie's budget is a complex structure, consisting of multiple layers of expenses that, when managed well, can make the difference between a film's artistic success and its financial failure. From pre-production to distribution, the allocation of resources plays a crucial role in how a movie is brought to life, marketed, and ultimately consumed by audiences. Each stage of the filmmaking process involves specific costs, and understanding how these expenses are spread across departments helps us appreciate the financial discipline required to produce a successful film. The first major phase of a movie's budget is pre-production. This stage is where the foundational work takes place before any filming begins. The costs associated with pre-production are significant because this is where the movie's script is developed or secured, casting decisions are made, and the groundwork for the physical production is laid. A substantial portion of the budget goes to securing the rights to a film's material, whether it's an original script or an adaptation of a novel or real-life event. Acquiring the rights can cost anywhere from a few $1,000s to millions of dollars, depending on the intellectual property's popularity or cultural impact. In addition to script acquisition, casting is one of the largest expenses in pre-production. The cost of hiring actors, particularly A-list talent, can be a huge part of the budget. Lead actors often command multi-million-dollar salaries, and the wages for supporting cast members, along with the salaries for the director, producer, and key crew members, can quickly add up. Crew wages, including those for departments like costume design, makeup, and special effects, are also critical budget components. The location scouting phase is another crucial pre-production cost, as filmmakers often need to secure locations across various regions or even internationally. This includes the costs of permits, transportation, accommodation, and other logistics that ensure the production can operate smoothly on site. Set design, another core element of pre-production, can be another financial heavy hitter. For films that require elaborate sets, such as fantasy, historical, or sci-fi movies, the costs associated with set construction can be enormous. This extends beyond just building physical sets. It also includes the logistics of creating props and ensuring that the set aligns with the visual style of the film. In the pre-production stage, filmmakers also have to secure equipment, hire additional crew, and take care of legal or insurance-related matters, all of which contribute to the financial investment before a single frame is shot. Once pre-production is complete, the next phase is principal photography, the actual shooting of the film. This is where most of the budget is spent. Principal photography includes costs for sets, props, costumes, equipment, and crew, including not just actors but a wide array of technical specialists such as cinematographers, lighting experts, and sound designers. A movie's filming process can stretch over months or even years, and the longer the shoot, the higher the costs, especially when additional resources are needed to ensure everything is done correctly. If a film involves a lot of on-location shooting, the costs can increase dramatically. For example, filming in remote or international locations requires extra logistical support, including travel, transportation, accommodation, and security. If the film involves complex action sequences, stunts, or visual effects, the costs will rise further. A film with heavy special effects will require additional investments in effects teams, who design and create physical or digital effects that bring the movie's world to life. Additionally, as the film is being shot, the production will incur costs related to insurance, talent fees, location rentals, and other miscellaneous expenses. Post-production is another phase of filmmaking that involves significant financial investment. The final cut of the film is assembled in the editing room, where editors work to shape the story, refine pacing, and integrate visual and sound effects. Depending on the film's complexity, editing can take weeks or months, and the cost of hiring skilled editors can add up quickly. In addition to editing, sound design plays a key role in crafting the final product. A film's soundtrack, dialogue mixing, sound effects, and score all contribute to the overall atmosphere and emotional resonance of the movie. Hiring top composers, sound engineers, and musicians adds another layer of expense to the post-production budget. In many films, visual effects, VFX, are essential to creating the world and the action that the story demands. VFX can be an expensive undertaking, especially for films that rely heavily on CGI to create worlds or characters that would be impossible to film in real life. These costs are often one of the largest parts of post-production, with modern blockbusters investing tens of millions of dollars into their visual effects. CGI artists work tirelessly to create realistic effects, and this can require extensive software, hardware, and time. Once the film is cut and the visual and sound effects are integrated, the film enters the final phase of post-production, color grading, which enhances the visual style of the movie, and mastering, which ensures the movie is ready for distribution. The final version of the film then undergoes test screenings and adjustments before being delivered to theaters or other platforms. While production and post-production costs are significant, the marketing of a film is often just as expensive, if not more so. The marketing budget is essential for ensuring that the movie reaches its audience and creates the necessary buzz to drive box office sales. Marketing strategies include the creation of trailers, posters, and promotional materials, as well as strategic campaigns across television, radio, social media, and print. These efforts may also include organizing press junkets, celebrity interviews, and promotional appearances to generate media attention. A large portion of a film's marketing budget is dedicated to digital and social media campaigns. In today's digital world, a movie's success can often hinge on its online presence. Influencers, viral campaigns, and social media buzz all play pivotal roles in shaping audience perception before the film's release. Additionally, international marketing strategies often need to be tailored to specific cultural contexts, further increasing costs. Film premieres and press tours also contribute significantly to marketing budgets. These events, often held in major cities, generate press coverage and provide opportunities for interviews and live television appearances with the stars. The creation of branded merchandise and tie-in products, particularly for major franchises, further adds to the marketing budget. The sale of branded merchandise, from action figures to clothing lines, can generate substantial revenue, which in turn can help offset the cost of the film's production and marketing. After the film's theatrical release, distribution costs are another key financial element. Theatrical distributors and streaming platforms charge fees for the rights to show the film, and the studio often has to pay for the creation and distribution of physical prints of the film or the licensing of digital formats. As more films are released on digital streaming platforms, distribution rights become increasingly important, with negotiations involving licensing agreements that can also generate substantial revenue. The costs of licensing films to television networks and international markets are also an important aspect of the distribution strategy. International distribution often involves translating and subtitling the film into different languages, which adds both time and cost. Depending on the film's global appeal, the licensing deals can result in significant revenue streams. When looking at how efficiently a movie's budget is spent, it's crucial to understand that a high budget does not automatically mean a successful film. The financial planning that goes into managing a movie's budget is critical to its success. A film may succeed artistically but fail financially if its budget is mismanaged, if resources are poorly allocated, or if the marketing campaign does not generate sufficient interest in the movie. For example, excessive spending on a star-studded cast might result in fewer funds available for critical areas like special effects or marketing. An efficiently spent budget is one where resources are carefully balanced to achieve the intended artistic goals without overextending the financial resources available. Filmmakers who plan strategically, focus on cost-effective solutions, and make smart decisions throughout the production, post-production, and marketing phases are more likely to create a film that resonates with audiences and generates strong financial returns. In the end, the success of a film, both artistically and financially, depends on more than just the size of the budget. How effectively the budget is managed, how well resources are allocated to various departments, and the strategies employed to market and distribute the film are key factors in ensuring that a movie becomes a financial success. Through careful financial planning and a deep understanding of how each budget item contributes to the film's overall potential, filmmakers can navigate the complex world of movie production and achieve both creative and commercial success. The box office performance of a film is one of the most significant indicators of its financial success and cultural impact. When a movie is released, its ability to attract audiences across various regions, whether local, national, or global, determines how well it is received financially. The worldwide box office collection is a complex metric, shaped by a multitude of factors, including the film genre, star power, critical reception, marketing campaigns, and external influences such as competition from other releases or the economic environment. In analyzing the global box office performance of a film, it's important to understand how its collection compares to others within the same genre or scale. Genre and scale provide a useful framework for understanding audience expectations, as certain genres tend to perform better in certain regions. For instance, action-packed blockbusters often perform better globally than niche drama films, while animated movies have a tendency to capture a large family audience. The film genre sets the tone for its potential audience size and the overall strategy for marketing and distribution. Thus, comparing the performance of a film to others within its genre or category provides useful insights into its broad appeal and market fit. When looking at a movie's financial success, we begin with the overall worldwide box office collection. The movie's earnings are typically divided into domestic, the home country, and international revenues, with each market contributing differently to the overall total. It's worth noting that the box office revenue from international markets can be just as significant, if not more so, than domestic box office earnings. Some films are designed to appeal to a global audience, and as such, they place an emphasis on international appeal. For example, blockbuster franchises like Marvel and Fast and Furious have been successful in various countries, driven by action sequences and broad thematic elements that transcend cultural barriers. This broad appeal is often the key to a movie's financial success. In analyzing box office performance, it's important to examine the timeline of a film's earnings, how the collection evolves over its theatrical run. A film may experience a strong opening weekend, which is often seen as a key barometer of its commercial potential. The opening weekend box office numbers are typically indicative of the success of marketing campaigns, the draw of the stars, and the excitement surrounding the movie's release. For many blockbuster films, strong opening weekend performance is a good sign that audiences are invested and the word of mouth will likely help sustain its run in theaters. However, a successful opening doesn't guarantee a long-term box office victory, as films that face weak reception, bad reviews, or intense competition from other releases may struggle to maintain momentum over several weeks. Films that have strong legs, meaning they continue to perform well after their opening, are often more sustainable at the box office. Comparing the film's performance to others within its genre or scale offers a deeper understanding of its relative success. For instance, a sci-fi film with high-budget special effects will often be compared to other major releases within the genre, like the latest entries in the Star Wars or Avengers franchises. These comparisons allow analysts to evaluate whether a film is over or underperforming based on the size of its budget, its marketing efforts, and the performance of its competitors. If a film is on par with other blockbuster sci-fi films, it might be considered a success, but if it fails to match expectations based on its genre's typical performance, questions may arise about its appeal. For example, if the movie in question is an action-adventure film with heavy visual effects and star power, comparing its performance to films like Avengers, Endgame or Jurassic World can provide a sense of whether it was able to meet or exceed audience expectations. These films, with budgets often exceeding $200 million, tend to rake in billions of dollars globally, so if a movie in the same vein fails to reach similar numbers, it could indicate that certain elements, such as the storyline, character development, or visual effects, were not able to live up to audience expectations. One of the key factors contributing to a movie's box office success is the strength of its marketing campaign. A well-executed marketing strategy can significantly boost a film's visibility and generate excitement ahead of its release. The marketing budget for many big-budget films often rivals the production costs, with significant amounts spent on television spots, digital advertisements, and promotional events. The impact of a marketing campaign cannot be overstated, as films with poor or underwhelming campaigns may fail to draw in audiences. This is especially evident in markets where competition is fierce, and other films may be vying for the same audience. Additionally, the reception of the movie by critics and audiences is crucial. Movies with positive reviews often enjoy a longer shelf life at the box office, as word of mouth plays a significant role in attracting audiences to theaters. On the other hand, movies that are critically panned or receive negative feedback from audiences may experience a sharp drop in box office earnings after the initial release. This is especially true in a landscape where social media and review aggregation sites like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb shape audience perceptions before they even step into theaters. If a movie's reviews and ratings are low, it might struggle to generate buzz, and its box office performance may suffer as a result. Another factor influencing box office performance is the level of competition in the market. Movies released during peak holiday seasons or alongside other major franchise releases often face stiff competition, which can dampen their overall earnings. For instance, a major action film might be released during the summer months, but if it faces stiff competition from another highly anticipated blockbuster, such as a Marvel film or a new Star Wars entry, it may struggle to find an audience. This can be especially difficult for non-franchise films or films that aren't part of an established brand, as they lack the built-in audience of an existing fan base. Conversely, a movie that is released during a less competitive time, such as in the early winter months or late fall, might have a better chance to stand out and capture a larger share of the market. However, timing is just one of many factors, and it must be combined with other strategic decisions to be successful. In recent years, streaming platforms have also become a major factor in a movie's box office performance. Many films are released both in theaters and on streaming platforms simultaneously, which can significantly affect box office revenue. Streaming services offer the convenience of watching movies at home, which can be an attractive alternative to going to the theater, especially during times when audiences might be hesitant to return to cinemas, such as during the COVID-19 pandemic. This has shifted the paradigm in how box office performance is evaluated, as many viewers now opt to stream films on platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney+, potentially lowering the overall box office collection. A movie's global appeal is another significant aspect of its box office performance. International markets, particularly in China, Europe, and Latin America, have become increasingly important to a film's financial success. With international box office revenues often accounting for a significant portion of a film's total earnings, the ability of a movie to transcend cultural and linguistic barriers is key to its global appeal. Movies with universal themes or action sequences that don't rely heavily on dialogue tend to do better in international markets. Films that are heavily rooted in a specific culture or language may struggle in foreign markets unless they are localized effectively. For instance, the global success of superhero films from the Marvel and DC universes is largely driven by their universal appeal and global fanbase, allowing these films to perform strongly in a wide range of international territories. In examining the box office performance of the movie, it is important to evaluate how effectively the filmmakers tapped into both domestic and international markets, how their distribution strategy aligned with audience demand, and how the film was positioned within the broader cinematic landscape. Factors like star power, cultural relevance, and genre conventions can all influence a film's box office success, while market conditions, competition, and the impact of external events can play a role in shaping the movie's financial performance. Ultimately, the box office tells us not just about how a movie performed financially, but also about its place within the larger cultural conversation and the lasting impact it is likely to have on audiences across the globe. By comparing the movie's performance to others in its genre and scale, we gain insights into what worked and what may have contributed to the movie's success or challenges in specific markets. A comprehensive review of the movie's plot and key themes, 2,500 words. Provide a detailed summary and analysis of the movie's plot, focusing on key moments and turning points. How does the plot evolve, and what themes are explored throughout the narrative? Offer an interpretation of the movie's core message and how it resonates with audiences. Character development and arcs, analyzing the protagonists and antagonists. The characters in the movie serve as the heart of the story, driving its emotional depth and thematic exploration. Central to the narrative are the protagonist and antagonist, whose arcs shape the overall trajectory of the plot. These characters are intricately woven into the fabric of the film, each having their own motivations, goals, and obstacles to overcome. Their relationships with each other, and the transformations they undergo, play a pivotal role in both character development and plot progression. The protagonist is typically the character with whom the audience is meant to identify or root for, but their journey is not always straightforward. They face internal and external challenges that force them to evolve. In this film, the protagonist starts from a place of personal conflict, possibly grappling with a tragic past, an overwhelming goal, or a deep-seated fear. Over the course of the story, the protagonist is tested, sometimes failing, sometimes succeeding, but always growing in response to the challenges they face. The antagonist, on the other hand, represents a significant opposing force. Their motivations may be equally complex, whether driven by personal vendettas, ideological differences, or a desire for power. The antagonist is not necessarily evil, but rather a reflection of the protagonist's own fears or weaknesses taken to extremes. Their relationship with the protagonist often becomes the central tension, as both characters struggle to impose their will on the story world. As the movie progresses, the protagonist's arcs evolve, driven by interactions with secondary characters, plot events, and the antagonist. Perhaps the protagonist learns to overcome their doubts or becomes more self-aware. In contrast, the antagonist may undergo a transformation, shifting from a seemingly clear villain to a more nuanced figure whose motivations become clearer or more sympathetic as the narrative unfolds. A compelling character is one who feels real, who undergoes significant internal or external changes. It's the emotional journey they take, their victories, defeats, and realizations, that draws the audience in. The relationship between the protagonist and antagonist, especially when it's marked by personal stakes and emotional intensity, is often the cornerstone of the film's storytelling power. Whether it's a battle for survival, love, or justice, the interplay between these characters shapes the narrative arc and ultimately determines the resolution. Music composition and sound design in the movie. Music and sound design are integral to the emotional and atmospheric impact of a film, enhancing the narrative and guiding the audience's emotional responses. In this movie, the score is carefully crafted to underscore the thematic elements of the story while providing an additional layer of storytelling through sound. The music is not merely background noise, it is a vital element that communicates mood, tension, and character development. The composer's role in shaping the score is crucial. They work closely with the director to understand the emotional beats of each scene and compose pieces that highlight the characters' internal journeys and the evolving tone of the film. From soaring orchestral arrangements to intimate, minimalist compositions, the music supports key moments, whether it's a heart-pounding chase sequence, a tender love scene, or a climactic confrontation. Through a combination of instruments, rhythms, and motifs, the score serves as a narrative device, reinforcing the film's emotional beats and elevating moments that might otherwise be overshadowed. The sound design further enriches the experience. Sound designers craft an auditory landscape that includes the Foley effects, like footsteps, clothing rustling, or the sound of a door creaking, and ambient noises, like wind, water, or city sounds. These seemingly small elements contribute greatly to the film's realism, ensuring that the viewer feels immersed in the world. The sound design also plays a role in moments of high tension, where silence or sudden sounds can heighten suspense. For example, the quiet before an intense scene, or the sudden crescendo of sound as the protagonist faces their greatest fear, can amplify the stakes and emotional weight of the moment. There may also be notable collaborations with specific composers or sound designers who have a unique style that elevates the auditory experience. Whether the score incorporates electronic elements, uses cultural or genre-specific instruments, or introduces a new, experimental approach to sound, it has the power to redefine how the audience perceives the movie. In some instances, the film's score might even become iconic, with certain themes or motifs becoming synonymous with the film itself. A technical breakdown, editing, special effects, and post-production magic. Post-production is where the film truly begins to take shape, transforming from raw footage to a cohesive, polished story. Editing, special effects, and sound design all play a role in shaping the final product, with each department working together to craft a seamless narrative experience. This part of filmmaking is often where the movie's pacing, tone, and visual style are refined and perfected. Editing is arguably one of the most critical aspects of post-production. Editors work closely with the director to decide which shots to keep, which to cut, and how to structure scenes for maximum impact. The pacing of a film can drastically change depending on how scenes are ordered or how much screen time each character receives. In action-packed sequences, rapid cuts can create a sense of urgency and chaos, while slower, lingering shots in dramatic moments allow for emotional depth. A well-edited film flows naturally, maintaining audience engagement from start to finish. Editors also play a significant role in shaping the narrative structure. Whether the story unfolds linearly or through flashbacks, they ensure the film's rhythm supports the emotional journey. Special effects, SFX, and visual effects, VFX, are integral for many modern films, especially those in genres like sci-fi, fantasy, or action. These effects help bring to life fantastical elements that cannot be captured through traditional means. VFX teams work meticulously to create realistic environments, creatures, or supernatural occurrences that blend seamlessly with the live-action footage. Whether through CGI, green screen technology, or practical effects, like makeup and puppetry, special effects enhance the visual experience, allowing the film to transcend reality. The role of special effects extends beyond just visual spectacle. It is used to amplify the emotional beats of the film, whether it's the visceral impact of an explosion, the awe-inspiring beauty of a fantastical setting, or the tension created through subtle CGI enhancements. The special effects team works in collaboration with the director and cinematographer to ensure that the visuals align with the film's overall tone and emotional arc. In addition to visual effects, sound design and music are also refined during post-production. Editors and sound designers work together to ensure that the soundscape complements the visual elements, ensuring that every action, emotion, and atmosphere is felt on a deeper level. The blending of all these technical elements, editing, special effects, and sound, creates the final magic of the film. It's where the director's vision is fully realized, with the support of a talented team of post-production professionals. The end result is a cohesive narrative that resonates emotionally and visually with the audience. These technical elements, editing, special effects, sound design, and music, serve as the backbone of a movie's final presentation, ensuring that every emotional and dramatic beat is felt with intensity. The seamless integration of these departments elevates the story and enhances the film's impact on its audience. The energy between the cast members of the film is undeniably one of its standout qualities, infusing the story with a sense of authenticity and emotional depth that resonates with audiences. From the very first scene, it becomes clear that the chemistry between the actors is not just a byproduct of their performances but a crucial element of the film's success. It's easy to see how they complement each other, each actor bringing something unique to their role while still creating a cohesive ensemble. The bond between the characters on screen feels genuine, which, in turn, makes their personal struggles and triumphs that much more impactful. There's a naturalness in their interactions that speaks volumes about the collaboration and effort that went into their performances, both individually and as a collective. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere among the cast members was just as dynamic, with friendships and mutual respect forming both on and off set. Several interviews and behind-the-scenes stories reveal that the camaraderie between the actors wasn't something forced or manufactured for the camera, it was a real and organic development. This genuine connection made it easier for the actors to dive into their characters and for the director to encourage improvisation and a more relaxed atmosphere during shooting. The director often spoke about how the actors' relationships were key to unlocking their best performances. He would occasionally allow for spontaneous moments during intense scenes, knowing that their trust and chemistry would elevate those moments naturally. It wasn't just the main leads who benefited from the camaraderie. Supporting characters and secondary roles also played an essential part in enriching the narrative. These actors brought a level of detail to their roles that provided texture to the story. Some were even involved in impromptu rehearsals that led to moments that weren't originally in the script but became integral to the flow of the film. The chemistry between the cast allowed the director to feel confident in letting these moments happen, sometimes crafting a scene on the spot based on the energy they brought to it. This free-flowing atmosphere behind the camera was undoubtedly one of the reasons the film felt so alive, with each character's journey feeling true to the nature of their relationship with others. One particularly memorable moment from behind the scenes involved the two lead actors, who, while portraying individuals locked in a complex, emotionally charged dynamic, shared a moment of light-heartedness between takes. The director recalled how the two actors would often engage in playful banter that lightened the mood during intense scenes, providing an interesting contrast to the somber nature of their on-screen interactions. It wasn't just the chemistry that stood out, it was their ability to switch between light-hearted and emotionally charged moments, creating a nuanced and multifaceted portrayal of their characters. Interviews with the cast also highlight the respect they had for each other's craft. The lead actor, known for his intense preparation and dedication to his roles, spoke about how the ensemble cast chemistry helped him dive deeper into his character. He often remarked that he never felt alone on set, as the support from his fellow actors allowed him to take risks and explore new facets of his performance. The supporting cast members echoed this sentiment, sharing how the leads would often push them to be bolder in their performances, creating a feedback loop that benefited everyone involved. There were challenges, of course. The demands of the role, combined with the intensity of the film's narrative, meant that the cast often had to tap into some deeply personal emotions. This required a lot of trust between them. Stories of actors supporting each other through emotionally taxing scenes are abundant. In one instance, a particularly emotional scene required the cast to draw from their own life experiences, and the director mentioned how the cast would often take breaks to check in with one another, ensuring that everyone felt emotionally supported. The vulnerability required for such scenes was not easy, but the strong bonds forged between the cast members allowed them to lean on each other, making the end result all the more powerful. As the film transitioned from production into post-production, the actors continued to reflect on their experiences. They spoke about how, long after filming wrapped, they would still find themselves discussing their characters and the relationships they'd formed while working on the film. Some actors even stayed in touch and occasionally gathered for casual meetups, reminiscing about their shared time on set. These ongoing connections added another layer of richness to their portrayals, as they had a sense of ownership over their roles, which made their performances feel even more real. When the film was finally released, the reactions from the audience were immediate and intense. People flocked to theaters, eager to see how the cast's chemistry had translated to the screen. Word of mouth spread quickly, with viewers praising not only the plot and visuals but also the depth of the relationships between the characters. The authenticity that had been cultivated during filming was immediately noticeable, and audiences responded to that. There were reports of people getting emotionally involved with the characters' struggles and triumphs, many commenting that it felt like they were witnessing something more than just a performance. It felt like they were privy to the true, raw emotions of the characters. Early reviews lauded the film for its strong character development and the naturalness of the performances. Critics noted how the actors' chemistry made even the most mundane interactions feel significant, elevating what could have been a typical genre film into something more memorable. The film's strong performances were described as one of its key strengths, particularly in the way the ensemble cast came together to create something bigger than the sum of its parts. As time went on, the movie continued to gain traction. Audiences who had initially been captivated by the on-screen relationships returned to the film for a second or third viewing, discovering even more layers of complexity in the characters and their dynamics. The bond between the leads remained a talking point among fans, with online discussions and fan theories delving into the nuances of their evolving relationship. Fans would often point out little moments of connection, subtle exchanges or glances between characters that solidified their belief in the chemistry the actors shared. Social media became an active space for viewers to celebrate the movie's cast, with fan art, memes, and tribute videos flooding platforms. The film's enduring popularity was a testament to how deeply the audience had connected with the characters, not just through the plot, but through the powerful on-screen relationships. It was clear that the chemistry between the cast members, combined with the director's vision, had crafted something that resonated long after the credits rolled. In interviews that followed the film's release, the cast and crew shared their own reactions to the overwhelming audience response. Many of the actors were surprised by how their performances had been received, with some noting that they hadn't expected such an outpouring of affection for their characters. They expressed gratitude for the opportunity to collaborate with such a talented ensemble and remarked that the genuine chemistry they felt during filming was evident in the final product. For many of them, the film had become more than just a project. It had become an experience that would stay with them for years to come. As the months passed, the movie's legacy began to form. It wasn't just a fleeting hit, it was a film that had established a lasting connection with its audience. The cast's chemistry had provided a foundation for the film's emotional resonance, and the behind-the-scenes dynamics had played a significant role in shaping the final product. The movie's success wasn't just about its plot or direction, it was about the heart of the story, brought to life by a group of actors who truly understood and trusted each other. This authenticity was at the core of the film's appeal, allowing it to stand the test of time and remain a beloved favorite for years to come. As the years passed and the film found a permanent place in pop culture, the actors would occasionally reunite for special events or anniversaries, reminiscing about their time on set. Their bond, formed during the intense and rewarding experience of making the movie, had remained strong, and the audience continued to celebrate their work. The film had not only become a milestone in their careers but had also forged lasting friendships that transcended the world of cinema. The movie's reception had proven one thing beyond a doubt: when cast members share a deep, authentic connection, it elevates the entire story. It's a reminder that movies are made not just by directors and writers, but by the people who bring the characters to life. The chemistry between the cast members had been one of the most defining elements of the film's success, and it remained a topic of conversation among fans and critics alike, long after the final scene had played out. From the moment it hit theaters, the movie began to leave an indelible mark on both cinema and pop culture. It wasn't just another film to add to the ever-growing list of releases, it became a defining moment in its genre, setting a new bar for storytelling, performances, and visual innovation. While some movies fade into obscurity after the credits roll, this one had the rare ability to transcend the screen, embedding itself in the collective memory of audiences and critics alike. Its impact is still felt in countless ways, not just in the genre it inhabited but in how it reshaped the expectations of what a movie could be. When audiences first encountered the film, it became clear that it wasn't simply telling a story, it was reimagining how stories could be told. The way it blended genres, experimented with structure, and pushed the boundaries of conventional filmmaking made it a benchmark for future productions. It wasn't just the plot or the performances that stood out, but the sheer innovation that was baked into every frame. The film's technical achievements were groundbreaking, with its use of visual effects, sound design, and cinematography pushing the envelope in ways that few had anticipated. These innovations didn't just catch the eye, they became touchstones for filmmakers in the years to follow. Directors and cinematographers began to cite this film as an influence in their own work, using it as a template for crafting more immersive and visually dynamic narratives. But it wasn't just about technical prowess, the film had an emotional core that struck a chord with audiences worldwide. There was something about the way it portrayed the human experience, the struggles, the triumphs, the connections, that resonated universally. Audiences walked away not just talking about the story, but about the characters, the themes, and the raw emotional power that the film had managed to capture. This accessibility and depth ensured that it wasn't merely a product of its time but something that would be revisited again and again by future generations. As the years passed, it found its way into academic discussions, pop culture references, and even casual conversations among people who hadn't necessarily seen it in theaters but knew it as an emblem of something more profound. The film's influence didn't stop at the big screen. It extended far beyond cinema into broader cultural conversations. Its quotes became iconic, its imagery unforgettable, and its themes increasingly relevant as the world around it evolved. Fans would often reference the film in other contexts, drawing parallels between the characters' struggles and real-life situations. It had become more than just a piece of entertainment. It was a cultural artifact, something that reflected the times and resonated deeply with those who had experienced it. In this way, the movie didn't just influence cinema, it became a lens through which the audience saw the world, a mirror reflecting their own experiences and emotions. Its impact also rippled through the industry in ways that reshaped how films were marketed and consumed. The movie's release strategy itself was revolutionary, utilizing viral marketing and social media campaigns that would later be copied by countless other films. The buzz surrounding the film's release was not just about the film's content but also about its cultural significance. Conversations about the movie began long before it hit theaters, thanks to strategic teasers and trailers that piqued curiosity. This approach to building anticipation wasn't new, but the film elevated it to an art form, showing just how much a film could become a cultural phenomenon through careful, deliberate engagement with the audience. The way the film was talked about in online communities, with fans dissecting every teaser and anticipating every plot detail, became a blueprint for how modern films engage with audiences. It became a touchstone for how movies could thrive in an increasingly digital, interconnected world. Beyond its immediate success, the movie's long-lasting legacy is evident in its place in film history. It earned numerous accolades, including prestigious awards and critical acclaim, affirming its status as a classic of its time. These awards were not just tokens of recognition but reflected the movie's quality and innovation in various areas, from direction and acting to technical achievements in cinematography and visual effects. Each accolade, whether it be for its lead performances, its groundbreaking special effects, or its exceptional direction, added to its cachet, solidifying its place in the annals of cinematic achievement. Critics from around the world were quick to embrace the film, not just for its entertainment value but for its artistic merit. It was hailed as a game-changer, a movie that was both a commercial success and a critical darling. It had a rare ability to appeal to a broad audience while maintaining its artistic integrity, a balancing act that many films strive for but few accomplish. This made it a touchstone for filmmakers looking to blend commercial appeal with critical acclaim, and its success showed that movies could be both profitable and meaningful, a lesson that would shape the direction of future films for years to come. Audiences, too, played a significant role in cementing the movie's legacy. As the years went on, the film maintained a devoted following, with fans continuing to celebrate its impact long after the initial hype had subsided. It became a film that people revisited time and again, each viewing revealing new layers of meaning. Fan theories, essays, and videos analyzing every frame continued to emerge, demonstrating how deeply the movie had imprinted itself on the minds of those who loved it. It wasn't just a movie to be watched, it was a movie to be lived with, to be discussed, dissected, and shared across generations. Perhaps one of the most significant markers of its enduring influence is how it has inspired entire subgenres and movements in film. It sparked a wave of movies that sought to capture the same raw emotional energy and innovative storytelling techniques. Many filmmakers have since cited it as a direct influence on their work, whether in terms of narrative structure, character development, or visual style. It's no exaggeration to say that its influence is still present in modern films, especially those that push the boundaries of genre and structure. Its ability to blend action, drama, and suspense in such a seamless way created a new paradigm for how genre films could be perceived, no longer just niche entertainment but serious, thoughtful pieces of art that could speak to the human condition. In the years following its release, retrospectives on the film further solidified its place in cinema history. Scholars and critics revisited its themes, analyzing its social commentary and cultural relevance. What had initially been seen as a groundbreaking film became a study in how to craft a timeless narrative, one that speaks to both contemporary issues and universal truths. The film's exploration of identity, power, and human connection continues to resonate, with its ideas being revisited in the context of modern societal shifts. As such, the movie's relevance has only grown, as its themes continue to evolve with the times. Its cultural influence is further exemplified by how it has been referenced and parodied in various media, from television shows and documentaries to online memes. These references serve not only as a testament to the film's wide-reaching impact but also as a reminder of how deeply it has become ingrained in popular culture. It's not just a film that is remembered, it is one that continues to live on through the ways it is remembered, reinterpreted, and celebrated. The film's legacy is not solely confined to its box office success or critical acclaim, it also lies in the way it altered the fabric of modern cinema. It redefined what was possible within its genre, set new standards for performance, visual storytelling, and thematic depth, and became a symbol of what can be achieved when art and commerce come together harmoniously. Its influence can still be felt in the films that followed, in the way stories are told, the way characters are developed, and in how movies are marketed and consumed in today's interconnected world. This movie didn't just leave its mark, it shaped the future of cinema. And in doing so, it ensured that its place in film history would never be questioned. From the opening scene to the final credits, this film has captivated audiences in ways that few movies ever achieve. It's not just a collection of moments strung together, it's an intricate tapestry of storytelling, emotion, and innovation that challenges the conventions of cinema and pushes the boundaries of what a film can accomplish. Whether through its groundbreaking visuals, its complex characters, or its thought-provoking themes, this movie has made its mark as something far more than entertainment. It's an experience that lingers long after the screen fades to black. It stands as a perfect example of how a film can blend technical mastery with emotional depth, offering a journey that feels as much about the heart as it does about the eyes. One of the key elements that sets this movie apart is its ability to balance spectacle with substance. In a world where many films lean heavily on visual effects or star power, this movie managed to weave together a narrative that didn't just rely on its flashy exterior but rooted itself in characters whose struggles, triumphs, and growth felt deeply human. From the very beginning, the audience is immersed in a world that feels both fantastical and real, a world where even the most extraordinary moments are grounded in relatable emotions. It's a rare quality, the ability to make the audience feel as though they, too, could be a part of the journey, even if they're miles away from the fictional landscape on screen. But it's not just about the characters or the plot, It's the way everything works together, seamlessly, to create something truly special. The cinematography, with its stunning visuals, not only enhances the story but becomes an essential part of the narrative itself. Every frame is meticulously crafted to add meaning, to deepen the emotional impact, and to ensure that the story is told with as much care as it deserves. The pacing, too, is spot on, never rushing through the important beats but giving each moment the time it needs to breathe. The score, evocative and powerful, further elevates the emotional weight of the film, embedding itself in your memory long after the film ends. There's a reason why this movie's soundtrack has become iconic in its own right. It's as much a part of the story as the characters themselves. What really sets this film apart is its lasting power. It's the kind of movie that grows in importance with each viewing, revealing new layers, fresh interpretations, and deeper emotional connections. There's something universal in its themes, something that speaks to a wide audience while still remaining specific to its characters' journeys. It captures the essence of human experience in ways that feel both timeless and modern, with its exploration of identity, relationships, and self-discovery resonating in ways that are both personal and collective. It doesn't just entertain, it speaks to the soul, asking us to reflect on our own lives, our own choices, and our own capacity for change. The performances in the movie are another standout feature. Each actor brings a level of depth and nuance to their character that feels refreshing in a world where so many performances can feel one-dimensional or stereotypical. These actors don't just play their roles, they become them, breathing life into the script and making the audience care about their journeys. It's not always easy to create a connection with the audience, but these performances make it seem effortless, capturing the complexities of their characters in ways that feel both authentic and captivating. And then, of course, there's the impact it had on the industry. Not only did it set new standards for technical achievements, but it also influenced the way future films would be made, marketed, and consumed. It's a testament to how one movie can change the course of cinematic history, setting trends that would shape an entire generation of filmmakers. The legacy it leaves behind is a reminder of how important it is for films to push the envelope and never settle for what's been done before. This movie proves that when filmmakers take risks and prioritize storytelling and innovation, the results can be transformative, not just for the audience but for the entire film industry. As we wrap up our exploration of this extraordinary film, it's clear why it continues to resonate with audiences around the world. It's a film that taps into something deep and universal, offering more than just surface-level entertainment. It's a movie that challenges, inspires, and moves us. From its visual spectacle to its rich storytelling, it's a piece of cinema that will be remembered, revisited, and celebrated for years to come. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of this cinematic masterpiece, don't forget to show your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more movie explorations, behind-the-scenes insights, and in-depth discussions. Your feedback means the world to us, and we can't wait to continue this journey with you. Stay tuned for more content, as we continue to unravel the magic of film, one movie at a time.